Okay, the guys at Cosmetic Pigments have sent me over some samples of their colour shift stuff to try. So that's what we're going to be doing. And I'm going to try them out on this ash blank I card a while ago now. Actually, it's been through the kiln. It's been sitting on a shelf. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put like an insert trench around here, something like what I did with the bullet bowl. If you haven't seen the bullet bowl, I'll leave a link up in the corner for it and down below in the description. All right, and also don't forget the 15% discount with the discount code that's below for stuff from Cosmetic Pigments. Right, now this is warped, so what I'm going to have to do is straighten it off. The only thing I'm going to do in this part of the video is I'm going to straighten off the outside, put the trench in and put the resin in, and then I'll have to leave it for a few days. It'll only be a few seconds for you, but it'll be a few days for me. So first thing I'm going to do is round this off. There's a slight crack in this, which I'm hoping the resin will run down into. There, I've already treated it with CA, so it mightn't. But when I look at well, now round this off. Now I'm not trying to shape this bowl at the moment. I just want to get the balance right now. That's all. Right, now just straighten up the inside and we can get with doing the trench. Let's go to my normal speed now. Most of the balance is back into it. Right, not worried about the bottom. Right, we're good. Now what I want to do is put the trench in for this resin. And I'm going to use a parting tool for that. I want to really make sure there's a good edge on this before I do that, so I'm just going to hit it with the diamonds now. Right then, now I don't want the trench too deep, but I do want it smack in the middle. That should do it. I want to come up the edge a bit more. Right, and there's the trench. It's going to have the colour shift in it. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave it on the chuck. Right. Put it on the lathe. It should be dead level. Right, I'm going to put a bit of tape there just in case it does decide to leak out. And then put the colour shift in that trench. Now, you've seen me mixing up resin before, so I'm not going to bother filming mixing of the resin. Right, and the colour that my wife actually picked to do this in was called Chameleon Fairy Dust. Right, so I'll mix this up, I'll pour the resin, and I'll be back when I'm doing that. Right then, let's pour the stuff. Seems to be quite glittery. So it's still wet. Seems to be depending on what angle I look at it and what way the light hits it. There's like purples, reds, blues, maybe. We'll have to see what it's like when it's turned and finished. So I'm going to leave that there. Well, actually I'll move it off the lid and leave it somewhere. And we'll see how that goes. So, we'll be back when that resin's done. Right then, the resin's gone off. And it's very sparkly, and depending on what way you look at it, it's kind of green or pink. Right, first thing I'm going to do is trim off that resin, flatten it off using a carbide. And then we shape the bowl. So to my normal turning speed of 800, because we know the bowl's in balance. Right, now we got that trimmed down. Now, excuse me, my plan is to leave a slight piece of wood either side of that, so that it looks like an insert. So that's what we're gonna go for. Right. So the first thing I'm gonna do is get that ridge right, and then I will shape the bowl. Yeah, that looks okay. Right, it's one pull cut to make it nice and even. Clean up that edge a little bit. Yeah, much better. Right, now we get on with shaping this bowl. Now that I know what size the edge is, I'll be doing it mostly with pull cuts. Just keep an eye on that crack. The resin went down into it somewhat, but I'm probably going to have to fill that a bit more. There's a slight bump just there. It's very slight, but it's there. Side bevel to get rid of it. Yeah, right. Now I want to get down here done. Base down to about the width I want. Now all I gotta do is blend that curve into that one. Right, I'm going to put some CA in there, and then just give up here another side bevel cut just to take the extra CA off, and we'll be doing fine. What's that? No, it's the wrong bottle. It's thick CA. Right, that's most of that off. Now it's a little bit just down there. Yeah, I got it. Right, and I'll sand and finish the outside of this. And then we'll get to the next part. So I'll do that, I'll be back for the Yorkshire Grit Bit. Right then, this week's Yorkshire Grit Bit is the legend of the Salmon of Knowledge. It's a really old Irish legend that has stuff to do with Finn McCool, who has a lot of legends about him personally as well. Right, but this is kind of where his legends start. Right, so a long time ago, when the famed Finn McCool was young, he was sent to live with a man named Finnegas. Now, Finnegas was well known as a wise man and a poet who lived on the banks of the River Boyne in County Kildare. Now, not only was Finnegas known for his wisdom, but he also had the secret knowledge of plants and animals in the wilds of Ireland. Now, these are the skills that Fionn was sent to learn from the old man. Fionn would spend hours listening to the old man tell stories of how he had learned the secrets of the animals. But when the young boy started to ask questions that Finnegas was unable to answer, Finnegas became kind of annoyed because he didn't know the answer. Then the boy asked him the most difficult of questions. Is there any way to know everything? To which Finnegas answered that to catch the salmon of knowledge out of the river and to be the first person to taste it would allow you to have all the knowledge of the world. He explained to the boy that this was the reason that he lived on the banks of the Boyne and why he fished every day was to catch the salmon of knowledge. Right. Now, a few months later, Fionn heard a cry from the river, and it was Finnegas shouting, "I've caught it! I've caught it!" And the young boy came running to his master's aid. Now, Finnegas told the boy to cook the fish straight away, but mind not to taste any of the flesh, as the knowledge would only be given to the person who took the first taste of the salmon. The boy promised he'd obey and began to cook the fish over an open fire. You know, Finnegas, being an old man, was tired after the fight and basically went for a nap. And he told Fionn to wake him when the fish was ready. Right, sometime later, Fionn duly woke the old man to eat his long-awaited prize. Finnegas tasted the salmon and nothing happened. He immediately looked at the boy and noticed that there was a new look of wisdom in his eyes. He asked the boy had he tasted the salmon, and Fionn told him he had not. Again, Finnegas tried eating more of the salmon, but with the same result. Nothing happened. He again quizzed the boy and asked him exactly how he had cooked the fish, to leave nothing out. And the boy recounted to him how he cooked the fish on a spit over the fire. Then he told the old man that the fish had slipped on the spit and he'd pushed it back onto the spit with his thumb, which he then put into his mouth to ease the pain, because he had burnt his thumb, obviously, touching a hot fish. Claimed Phineas. you have tasted the salmon. You may not have eaten it, but you tasted its flesh. You now have all the knowledge of the world. So Phineas tried asking him some questions, and Fionn couldn't answer, which made Phineas very confused, because he knew that this was the salmon knowledge. And then he realised that Fionn hadn't just tasted the salmon, but he had tasted his own thumb at the same time. So Phineas again asked the boy a difficult question, but this time told him to bite his thumb. And the knowledge just flew into Fionn. And then that's how it was discovered that in order to have all the knowledge of the world, Fionn had to bite his thumb. Now, as Fionn grew, his knowledge of course grew, and he became the leader of one of the greatest bands of Irish warriors, the Fianna. Right? His knowledge of warfare and tactics meant that they were never beaten in battle. Well, those stories are for another Yorkshire Grit Bit, because there's too many of them. But, so I'll doubtless be telling some of them stories. Right. So I'll keep on doing this, and that is the story of the Salmon of Knowledge and the beginning of the legend of Fionn McCool. So I'll be back when I'm waxing this, so I'll see you in a sec. Alright, just buffing the wax off. The resin looks grand actually. I think I might do another one of these next week, because I think there was too much resin in it for the amount of colour change. Even I can still see the colour change going from green to pink and flashing all over. I think I could do better. So what I have is the core of this bowl, and I might do another one of these next week, just to try and get that colour change more obvious. Well, the bowl itself is lovely, but I think to give it a fair shot, I think I should do that this again. We'll put more of the mica powder in. So that's probably what I'll do in next week's video, is do the core of this bowl. Well, I don't know if the camera's picking it up, because I don't know what way the light's hitting the camera. But you can see the colour changing, and I like the sparkle actually. Right then, we get on with doing the inside of this. So, as usual, I will mark the width that I want. So that way too fast. There we go. Which is round about there. And now, as usual, I'll just hollow away, and if nothing happens, I'll just continue hollowing. a slight mark just there I'm trying to get out. And I can't tell if it's a tool mark or a mark that's actually in the wood itself, because I can't feel anything. I can see a mark, but I can't actually feel anything. So I don't know if it's actually a tool mark or a mark that's in the wood. That's why I'm negative rake scraping this, to see if I can take off as little as possible to actually get that mark out. It's still there. It must be a mark in the wood, because it's certainly not coming out. Now the thing is, I've used the negative rake scraper here on the outside, so I have to use it all the way in, because believe it or not, you'll actually get almost a different finish if you don't. Get the little knob out of the middle now, and we're done. Just hit with the negative rake scraper to make the finish the same. I'll show you what I mean now. Right, okay, sit down, yeah, negative rake like to do. Right, if you look, you can see where there's like a shadow line there. Now that's perfectly flat, but there's like a shadow line. That's because there's a different cut on that than there is on that, because that's a negative rake scraper cut and that is a gouge cut. Now it would take me absolutely ages to sand them so that they're both the same, because the cut itself is different. So I'm going to hit there with the negative rake scraper just to match those cuts up, because I had to use the scraper on the outside. And I don't want to go any further than there, because look, the overhang, so I need to stop and move the tool rest. But you can see there, negative rake scraper cut, gouge cut, negative rake scraper cut. Why make life more difficult on yourself? Before I start sanding, start off with the same cut underneath. And life will be a lot easier for you. Right then, now we'll sand and finish the inside of this, and I'll be back then. Right then, just buffing the wax off. Looks quite nice actually. I like doing stuff like this with ash, because ash can be quite a plain wood. It's a really strong wood. Like it's all whorls are made out of ash over here because of its strength, but it can be quite plain. And there's what the inside looks like. You see that rim glistening. It's really nice. Right then, so I'm going to flip this over, do the base, and we're done. I'll give you a better look at it then. So, I'll set up for doing the base and I'll be back in a sec. Right then, set up for doing the base. there's a lot of ways of doing bases. Alright, this is my preference at the moment, is with a pressure plate. But I use the same speed rules on this pressure plate that I would if I was using the cold jaws. 500 is the highest, and it's just a simple matter of full clutch. And what I'm aiming for is a raised edge just there. I'm aiming for a lip kind of thing just there. I'll get in as close as I can there with that ball gouge, and then I'll go to a spindle gouge just to get myself further in. Now I'll take that little nub off with a normal bench chisel, and then I'll sand this off the lathe. So I'll do that and I'll be right back. Alright, now we have it. An ash bowl with colour shift resin in it. I don't know if the camera's picking it up, but it changes from green to kind of pink. I definitely do think though that it needs to be deeper, that the resin itself should be deeper and less clear resin with more of the actual stuff in it. As I said, next week I have the core of that bowl, so we'll try this again next week and I'll do it that way. So if you enjoyed that one, if you wouldn't mind clicking like on the video, and I'll see you in the next one.